"You are not welcome in the ballroom," my father texted me just minutes before, making his grand entrance. Here I am, hidden in a scratchy maid's uniform, pretending to be invisible, while every guest assumes I'm just part of the staff. They have no idea I am Madison Grant, the architect of the Obsidian, and that every lock, every light, every circuit bends to my will. Protocol 9 waits silently. But before the storm hits, tell me, where are you listening from right now? What time is it where you are? 6 months ago, the seeds of this deception were planted. Jasmine. My sister had gotten engaged to Matthew Sterling, the son of a billionaire tech investor, but marrying into wealth wasn't enough for her. She craved the spotlight, the prestige, the illusion of brilliance. My father, Drake, spun a story with meticulous precision. He told the Sterlings that Jasmine was not just beautiful, but a visionary, the silent genius behind Manhattan's most exclusive boutique hotel, the Obsidian. The check arrived $250,000 in seed money, but it wasn't for a project or for creativity. It was to fund my father's gambling debts and a wedding they couldn't truly afford. And I had to vanish. They couldn't risk the real architect wandering around answering questions, shining light on the truth. So, I was given a choice sign and non-disclosure agreement and masquerade as head of housekeeping for the night, or watch as my reputation was threatened with lawsuits alone I had co-signed years ago weaponized against me. I signed the NDA, but not without making Drake sign my contract as well. That afternoon, my mother Dora inspected me with the same care she might give a fragile antique. She did not hug me. She did not thank me. Instead, she ran a lint roller over my cheap polyester uniform, her voice oozing sweet poison. "You finally look like you belong, Madison. Don't speak to Mr. Sterling. Don't look at Matthew. You are the help. Don't ruin your sister's big win with jealousy." For a moment, the sting of old wounds surfaced the daughter who was never enough. But I swallowed it. I watched Jasmine rehearse her speech in the mirror, perfecting the act of the genius designer. And then I understood. This wasn't just about appearances. Jasmine wanted my hotel, yes, but more than that, she wanted my mind. Narcissists don't steal objects, they steal traits. She needed me invisible, stripped of identity, so she could wear it as her own. Dora thought she was putting me in my place, but she had given me the perfect vantage point. Hidden in the pantry, in the shadows, I became the unseen observer, patient and calculating. While my family laughed at their cleverness, unaware of the trap forming right under their noses, I traced every step, every move, every arrogance, waiting for the precise moment to assert control. I wasn't jealous. I wasn't impulsive. I was preparing. The stage was set, the pieces in motion, and I was quietly, meticulously ready to reclaim what had always been mine. The moment had arrived. I pressed the earpiece and Protocol 9 sprang to life. Instantly, the magnetic locks on the ballroom doors slammed shut and the lights cut out. Darkness swallowed the hallway like a living thing. Outside, muffled chatter shifted into confused murmurs, a low rumble that grew steadily as guests tried to understand what was happening. Polite knocks became impatient thuds, then furious fists against the mahogany. And there, in the belly of my own creation, I waited. Drake stormed into the pantry first. His face a storm of purple raged Dora just behind clutching pearls, as if their lives depended on them. Their eyes did not find me as a daughter or even a person. They found a broken appliance that needed to be kicked, a threat to their illusion of control. Drake's fingers dug into my arm, demanding, pleading, yelling. "The doors will not open. The lights are out. Fix it." I looked at him. looked down at the cheap fabric of the uniform he had forced me into and straight back at his eyes. "I cannot simply fix it, sir. The system has initiated a lockdown." He spat, shaking me with the weight of entitlement, trying to collapse me into the role he thought I occupied. "Go out there and pry them open if you have to," he demanded. I remained still, my voice flat, my presence calm, controlled. "I am just the help. Remember." Dora pushed forward, voice tight venomous in her polite way. "Do you have any idea how this looks?" "Jasmine is crying in the limousine. Matthew's father is asking if we paid the electric bill. You are humiliating us, Madison, on purpose." I let her words fall around me, neither acknowledging nor denying, letting the absurdity of their belief in leverage hang in the air. They thought they held power because they still saw me as the desperate girl they could crush with a phone call. But they did not see the tablet in my hand. They did not see the biometric scanner behind me, the control center of a building I had designed from the ground up. They did not see the predator, only the prey. Every shout, every threat, every tremor of their rising panic was fuel for my understanding. They were predictable, hubristic, utterly convinced of their dominion. I watched the flickers of fear crossing Drake's face, subtle yet unmistakable. This was the moment their psychology betrayed them. Every line they drew in anger, every shove, every glare only revealed the magnitude of their miscalculation. I did not move to escalate. I did not need to. Their desperation collided with my patience, and the room became a theater of hubris. They believed in their narrative that the daughter, the niece, the sister was powerless. They had forgotten one simple fact in this building. I was God. The systems, the circuits, the locks, they obeyed me, and through them, the faintest tremor of control passed from me to the panic-stricken family who had spent a lifetime assuming dominion. Drake's breath stank of expensive scotch and fear as he leaned close, barking threats. But his words were meaningless. I had seen this arrogance before. I had documented every step, anticipated every bluff. His threats were paper tigers, and I was the one holding the claws. And so, still calm, still poised in the darkness, I let the room churn with their confusion, their impotent rage, knowing that the game had shifted. They were no longer masters here. I was. I leaned back slightly, keeping my movements measured, and brought up the tablet. The digital contracts were ready, every clause precise, every signature validated. The outstanding balance glowed in red on the screen, $85,000. Drake's arrogance faltered for the first time, though he masked it with a barking laugh that carried no humor. "You stopped the wedding because you were worried about a bill." He scoffed. I didn't waver. "I am accounting," I said, my voice stripped of warmth, precise and cold. The deposit had been paid, yes, but the catering, security, audiovisual package, and the venue fee were outstanding. According to Clause 14, subsection B of the Obsidian rental agreement, full payment must be received before commencement of the event. Failure to remit results in immediate suspension of services. The doors will not unlock until the balance reads 0. Drake's fingers flexed the familiar gestures of a man who believed he could bully, cajole, or charm his way out of any obligation. He always pat his pocket when nervous, and I saw the slick matte black card Nexus Ventures branding faintly. Visible, the shell company set up to launder the seed investment. He did not know that my system tracked transactions, monitored authorizations, and logged every digital footprint in real time. Money was not persuasion, it was exposure. I leaned closer, keeping my voice low so only he could hear. Think about the math, I whispered. Pay the balance now and you lose funds that were never meant for this. Don't, and the doors stay locked. Mr. Sterling asks why. He discovers you cannot cover the venue fee. He questions the $4 million seed round wired last week. Suddenly the wedding is canceled, your company exposed to potential legal consequences, and you face public scrutiny. Drake's face went slack, the confident bully slipping into the frightened man who realized he had underestimated the reach of systems he didn't understand. I observed the subtle shift, the way narcissistic blind spots reveal themselves at the first encounter with consequence. He believed he was the main character, the exception to every rule. He did not see the automated contracts, the digital audit trail, the carefully weaponized legal framework I had crafted. All he saw was an obstacle, and he moved to remove it violently, swiping the card, attempting to assert control through force. It was almost comical if it weren't so serious. I remained still, precise. Every movement deliberate, every word measured. The tablet flashed green. Approved. I had not only collected the balance, I had sent the receipt to the cloud, to the board of directors, and unintentionally to the very investor whose patience was thinnest, Mr. Sterling. Drake did not notice the subtlety, the automatic scraping of corporate registry data, the way every assumption he had made about my helplessness crumbled in the light of automation. He thought paying the money silenced me, that the transaction was a victory. It was in fact the unraveling. In a single swipe, every lie, every misappropriation, every attempt to conceal reality had been documented, transmitted, and validated. I didn't gloat. I didn't revel. I simply observed the laws of consequence play out. I, who had been pushed into invisibility, now manipulated systems and psychology with precision. Drake's threats, his swagger, the theatricality of his domineering presence, it all became irrelevant against the cold, immutable logic of contracts and technology. The sunk cost fallacy, he had succumbed to the belief that he had already invested too much to stop worked in my favor. He could not back down without consequences, and he could not proceed without compliance. He was trapped in the very web he had spun. I remained a still point in the eye of the storm, letting every flinch, every hesitation, every calculation he made reinforce the upper hand I had claimed long ago. This was leverage, not punishment, exposure, not spectacle. I weaponized precision, legality, and technology, cold and efficient, proving that mastery of systems and patience could topple arrogance without theatrics. In that moment, I was neither villain nor hero, only the executor of truth. The ballroom had fallen into a fragile rhythm, Jasmine sweeping onto the stage with the confidence of someone who believed she had erased me entirely. Her voice trembled with rehearsed humility as she gestured at ceiling beams, arches, and lighting fixtures, claiming them as her own. The guests were mesmerized, applauding, nodding, believing in the illusion. I stayed in the shadows beside the maintenance panel, heart steady hand resting on the biometric scanner I had installed years ago, hardwired to override every system in this building. The blue light pulsed, confirming my identity, Madison Grant owner and architect. Access level full. It was time. I pressed the command. The music cut abruptly, light snapping from warm, ambient glow to sharp white. Gasps echoed around the room. Jasmine froze mid-gesture, her practiced narrative evaporating in an instant. Behind her, the massive LED wall flickered and then displayed something entirely new, Stamped blueprints bearing my name, the property deed, and even Drake's emails dismissing her fabricated claims. The evidence was irrefutable. 300 pairs of eyes, guests who had believed in the performance, now turned to see the architect who had been invisible all night. And there, I stood still in my maid's uniform, the contrast itself, a quiet declaration. The vision versus the lie. Drake's face twisted in fury, his entire posture collapsing under the sudden exposure. He didn't look at Jasmine anymore, didn't glance at the crowd. His eyes locked on me, panic and rage warring in a single expression. And before he could charge, before his instincts to reclaim control could translate into action, a hand clamped his wrist, Mr. Sterling. The billionaire investor composed and precise immobilized Drake, effortlessly raising his phone like a gavel of justice. My finance team had flagged the $85,000 charge connected to the shell company Drake had used to launder prior investments. Sterling's voice cut through the tension, calm, authoritative. This isn't a glitch. This is embezzlement. Security moved in, and within moments, officers arrived, cuffing Drake without resistance. The room shifted from staged celebration to unfolding accountability. Doris screamed. Jasmine sobbed. Matthew removed the expensive watch she had gifted him, and even the most attentive guests struggled to comprehend the layers of deception. I remained composed, watching from the edge, allowing the technology, contracts, and facts to speak louder than any accusation or plea. The event had transformed into an undeniable revelation. Identity, stolen ownership, reclaimed truth made visible. In the aftermath, I ascended to my office, poured a glass of water, and observed the empty street below. Silence wrapped the Obsidian in a perfect stillness, the echoes of entitlement, deception, and greed dissipating. There's a principle called clean hands. You don't throw punches. You create an environment where truth asserts itself. I hadn't called the police. I hadn't staged an intervention beyond enforcing contracts and protocols. I had let the systems I designed and the facts I documented expose what needed to be exposed. With a few swipes, I deleted access from Jasmine and Drake, purged the biometric database, and ensured the building's integrity was intact. I hadn't lost a family that mattered. I had shed liabilities. The satisfaction was quiet, profound. Every move had been anticipated, every risk mitigated, every detail leveraged. It wasn't spectacle, it was precision. The truth, amplified by technology and strategy, had spoken louder than any performance or lie could ever hope to. And for the first time in years, I felt the full weight and freedom of my own authority, knowing that the Obsidian, my vision, and my name would remain untarnished, undeniable, and unassailable. As I watched the street empty and the Obsidian settle into silence, I felt the calm satisfaction of truth restored. The lies of my family had collapsed under their own weight, and I had reclaimed control without ever throwing a punch. Clean hands, precision, patience. Sometimes justice doesn't need noise, just careful orchestration. I wondered as I observed the aftermath what choices you would make if the stakes were this high. How far would you go to reclaim what's yours?